Want to achieve network marketing success? Then you're in the right company. Hello, and welcome to Leave Nothing to Chance, hosted by networking marketing giant John Solleder. Learn everything you need to know about the network marketing space from somebody who's actually done it. Join us every week for front row seats as we feature some of the finest and most successful personalities in network marketing. Leave nothing to chance. Join us now.
I really, really appreciate this young lady I'm going to introduce and tell you about being here today. I know at 3:30 this morning, I woke up thinking about this call, and I had to check to make sure I didn't mess up on the Olympic wrestling, which I did. It started at 6 a.m. But I woke up to do that, and I grabbed my phone, like I always do, just out of impulse. And I just got a text from Tracey that she was in the hospital in Philadelphia with Roscoe, her dog, who unfortunately is not doing well. So we'll keep Roscoe in our prayers. Those of us who love our furry friends, we can all relate, Tracey. So sorry to hear that news. But appreciate you being here, being a trooper that you are. I know you've been up all night. So having said that, let me tell you all a little bit about Dr. Tracey Jones. Dr. Jones is an author, a speaker, a veteran, United States veteran, publisher, podcaster. She currently serves as the president of Tremendous Leadership. She picked up the reins from her late dad, Charlie Tremendous Jones, way back in 2008. She's a passionate lifelong learner whose career spans top positions in 4 major industries, from the military to high tech to defense contracting, as well as publishing. She's a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy, a decorated veteran who served in the first Gulf War as well as the Bosnian War. She earned an MBA in global management and a PhD in leadership studies through Lancaster Bible College. Tracey is a faculty member of the prestigious Institute for Organizational Management, as well as being awarded a Doctor of Humane Letters, a honorary PhD from Central Penn College in 2017. She lives in Pennsylvania. She's a proud Pennsylvanian. She'll tell you that if you want to debate it. Her husband is a graduate of the United States Naval Academy. So when the Air Force and Navy play football every fall, they stay on opposite sides of the house. And I witnessed that last year because I made the mistake of calling her at like halftime, not knowing the game was on. And I found out things were pretty tense there. So I didn't want to get in the middle of a divorce. So what was that movie? The War of the Roses, I think it was, right? Michael Douglas and Catherine, oh, Lord, I forget. Kathy Bates. I think it's Kathy Bates. Anyway, whatever. All right. Tracey, thank you so much for being here. I know you're up all night. Thank you once again for everything you do. And Tracey, I'm going to just be quiet and let you share some of the leadership tactics that you've developed, learned, and lived, most importantly, over these last number of years.
Well, John, I so appreciate that, and it's really exciting. We're triple digits all over the world, and thank you for being here. As John explained, it was I'm still operating from when I got up yesterday. So thank you for your thoughts and prayers. And there was never a moment where I thought, hey, I can't be here, because this is a time of replenishment for me too. But if I talk a little slower than I usually do, that's why, because I'm a little tired. That actually make work to most people's benefits, though, because I tend to go pretty quick, like a lot of Pennsylvanians. But John, when he initially approached me about this, the topic that he put on the flyer was leadership now and in the future. Okay. And I thought that was really interesting, because a lot of people out there, they look at different things and they say, well, that was then, but this is now. And, you've got different generations. You've got boomers, you got millennials, you got Gen Z, you got Gen Xers. So everybody kind of is walking along this path where we kind of go, well, that was then, but this is now. And that is really what is going on in the world today. So what I want to open my comments with is to say that is true, and that is also not true. When it comes to leadership, working with people, those truths, those core tenets of how you build top-notch teams and how you really bring out the best in people and how you get people that bring the best out in you, that's truth. That's immutable. That's timeless. That's since the dawn of civilization. Now, what does change, though, is the context, the politics, the regulations, the what's going on in the world. And so the one thing that I would really share with you today, and for those of you that grew up, I'm a tail end boomer, okay? So I'll tell you kind of where I grew up in. And when I grew up, my worldview about capitalism, free enterprise, and the creation of wealth was that it was a noble thing, it was a righteous thing, and it was the way that you could really do the most good for yourself. You could earn your wealth, and you could make the world a better place because you could take that wealth and you could donate it or channel it where you wanted to. And I would say it's very important in today's context that we realize that there is a swath of the population and world that may not hold to that truth. Okay. Now, that's neither here nor there. It just means that when we talk to people about an opportunity such as this entity, this organization, this product, okay? And when I grew up, this was, I mean, people would snap up an opportunity like this. Same with insurance sales, same with anything commission-based, because people knew you could be a cog in the wheel or you could earn your own wealth. And if you thought yourself of great value, you could generate a tremendous amount of value. And it kind of seems like now we have, that's almost poo-pooed on. And you hear about the Occupy Wall Street and the 1%, almost as if trying to achieve great wealth, great success, getting to the highest peak you can is not a good thing. And so what I really want to share in opening this is just be aware that when you're talking to people about an opportunity such as this, you want to make sure that they understand the beauty of the free enterprise system, because there's a lot of people now that look at all the things that made a lot of great things in the world, including this country, and kind of go, yeah, no, that's not the way it has, almost kind of a revisionist thing. So you really want to understand who and what actually generates wealth. And believe it or not, a lot of people out there don't. Whenever I hear somebody say, well, I'm not sure why you're worried about it because the government will pay for it, right away I know they don't understand how to create wealth and where wealth comes from. Okay, so as you're pitching this product, as you're growing your team, you really want to help people understand the beauty of the free enterprise system. Now, the beauty of the free enterprise system, and I grew up with that. I mean, that was the greatest thing in the world. You worked for somebody else until you had enough seasoning or enough capital or enough intestinal fortitude so you could go and forge your own path. And my father always told me that growing up. John said, I worked in the military. I worked in defense contracting. I worked in high tech. I worked all these different places in these big bureaucracies. And I would get a couple years into it and I'm like, oh boy, Dad, it's kind of the same thing, you know, it's the same doo-doo, just a different day. And he would always say to me, Tracy, when are you going to learn? You can work for yourself or you can work for somebody else. But as long as you work for somebody else, you're always going to hit that wall because it is not yours and you are not free to create you and as much wealth as you want. And of course, I fought that and I'm like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. Guess what? He was absolutely right. Okay. And it wasn't until my mid-40s where I finally was like, enough. I've tried it their way. I've tried every industry all over the world. I'm going to let my entrepreneurial chops out there. I'm going to see if I'm brave enough, if I'm courageous enough, if I'm creative enough. And you know what? The world is created to grow and blossom entrepreneurs, because that's what makes the world go round. People that want to achieve greatness and then they want to pour greatness back into the world. You know what kills the planet? Selfish people. People that want to get something or take something or redistribute something from somebody else, the takers of the world. Okay, so when you're talking about leadership now and in the future, I just want you to remember, because boy, you listen to some of the stuff now, and you know, if you're not grounded in the truth of the free enterprise system and that it requires people who are enterprising, right? You cannot be in the free enterprise if you're not enterprising. And enterprising means you're industrious. You're not a clock puncher. You're not a navel gazer. You're not just sitting there fogging the mirror until you retire. You want to go out and you want to create an enterprise. You need enterprising people who value freedom and not necessarily wealth. And again, multiple streams of income is great, but you get into a business like this, first and foremost, for the same reason I came by to run my little entrepreneurial company, because I want to do what I want to do, and I want to be intrinsically true to my greatest purpose. All right. And so when you're talking to people, you really want to make sure that they are in that mindset, because if they have not grown up with a parent that maybe had their own business, or they maybe understand how wealth is created and how taxpayers fund the government, or they may not understand the whole system that, 90% of the wealth generated, at least in America, is through small and mid-sized businesses. I didn't know that, folks, until I actually got into a small business. I thought bigger was better, bigger around the world. Not true at all. Okay. And so when you're talking to people about leadership and coming into an organization like this, you want to make sure that they get the foundation of the beauty of the free enterprise system. There's nothing like it. And we grew up with it in school. We learned about the titans of the Industrial Revolution, all the different people, the Carnegies, the Schwabs, all these guys that created jobs for so many other people, even Guinness, who started Guinness beer. They had this vision and they created a tremendous amount of wealth for other people, and it just kind of built on from that. So we grew up hearing that. Not everybody in the generations coming up is quite so familiar with that. As a matter of fact, they might actually have a negative opinion of, oh, capitalism, that's a dirty word, you're trying to oppress everybody else. So I would say for leadership then and now, just make sure as you're approaching people that they really understand money makes the world go round, okay? But whose money is it and who generates that money? And I think it's really important that people understand this, and they understand that there's a way to do that. So that's the first thing that I want to talk about. And 30 years ago, I wouldn't have said we had to go there, because this is kind of what was taught. You were a company man or you were an entrepreneurial man or woman. And that's kind of where it was. And everybody wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I still maintain, as a result of COVID, people still really have the entrepreneurial imprinted in them, because we all are put on this planet to do something uniquely gifted that only we can do. That doesn't come out when you're a cog in the system. And nothing against the big bureaucracies, but you're not really free to be yourself and generate what you want. All right. So after that first point of just understanding the context of leadership, the second thing that I want to talk about is that there's a science to actually making this work. There's a science to getting rich, okay? We even have a little book called The Science of Getting Rich, and I'm going to give a shout out to one of our attendees, Dean Gibson, right here. I don't know if you can see this. He has his name imprinted on there. Isn't that pretty cool? But what I want you to understand is, for leadership, everybody thinks there's a magic bullet, or, oh my gosh, I looked at this person and, they sold 10 million books because they did this ClickFunnels and blah, 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 all this stuff. There is a science to getting rich. There's a secret to success. And that means that you do things in a certain way. And that's really what this little booklet is all about. You do things in a certain way. How do you know what things to do in a certain way? Well, you read the books, okay? How do you learn how to cook a great cake? You read the cookbook. How do you learn to be a tremendous success in an entrepreneurial industry? Well, you read The Wisdom of the Ages about the greats that have gone before it. And I love the fact that Keith in the intro hit on one of my favorite words, habits. Show me your habits and I will show you your level of success. And a lot of people are like, well, Tracey, that's old school. Right. But there's no getting away from it. I can't do the work for you. And I can't create the motivation in you. This is what you have to do. So here's a phenomenal little book, The New Common Denominator of Success. Came out at least 100 years ago, but it clearly states that the only difference between a failure and a success, the only difference, is that a success has made a habit out of doing things that a failure doesn't want to do. And you may look at Foster and John and Keith and be like, well, man, if I was as blessed as them and everything they touch turns to gold, then I would be a success too. And the beauty of this little book lets you know the things that you find hard to do, guess what? So does Miss Tracey. So does John. So does Keith. You know what the difference is? They say, I don't care how I feel about it. I'm going to make a habit out of doing it. Okay. And the other point that leads us to is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, one of the greatest little booklets of all time. As a Man Thinks. okay? And a lot of people will say, well, I don't feel like it. I'm not feeling it. I don't feel like I can be successful in this. I don't feel like inviting people to an event. I don't feel like showing the product. And feelings have no business in growing your business, okay? You want to identify with your client how they're feeling. Maybe what would it feel like to be in charge of your health? What would it feel like to have an enhanced, robust immune system versus killing it with immune suppressing drugs or vaccines, okay? So that's where you dial into the feeling. But you look at this, thoughts control your feelings. Feelings control your behaviors. So the second thing that I want to share with leadership now and in the future is, it is elementary. There are universal laws, just like the law of physics, the law of thermodynamics. There are universal laws to success. There's a law of choices and consequences, okay? It's a fact of it. And again, a lot of people in the world think today, well, it's just going to happen to me because it's just going to happen to me. And they ignore the science and they ignore all the past precedents that's been set because they don't want to put the work into it. They don't want to cultivate the habits of prospecting, selling, showing, calling, follow-up. Okay? So that's the second thing. When you deal with finding out the right recipe and your right cookbook, and again, I want to share this with you because Dean brought this up. We do an online course, and we talked about when you find something that you want to do, you follow the recipe book, and that's why I'm always pushing books, because I never came up with these. I love that John said she'll share some things she came up with, and I got to tell you, I've never come up with an original idea in my life. I thought I did once, but I was wrong, okay? It's all the truths from these great books that I just put together. But in one of the books that we're reading in our course, one of the authors, Cameron Taylor, talked about how in order to be successful, you need to follow the recipe of somebody that has been successful. And so the thing was, though, somebody in our great spirited discussion said, yeah, but that's not always the case. And Dean Gibson brought this beautiful point up. He said, it's not just about the recipe, but it's about how the cook prepares it and the level of experience and expertise you have. So do I want to read Russell Conwell, the founder of Temple University? Think he knows a thing or two? Absolutely. Do I want to read James Allen? Albert Ian Gray gave this a speech at an insurance company, and it has been a bestseller. We sell tens of thousands of these every year. Yeah, I want to read the recipe book, the success recipe book for people that have done it. But one of the things that Dean was talking about was that you need to have somebody that has not just the book, because you've all met people that have the book knowledge. Well, I should be making this much money if I just do this. But there's a level of finesse and expertise and experience in it. And so this is one of the things that I found. You guys have probably seen this, okay? So you've probably seen the people that try and bake a cake and like, you want to do this cute little hedgehog cake, but this is the reality of what happens, okay? So this is where experience, and the more habits you do, the more experience you get. So in the beginning, you end up with this weird looking thing. And then the other one here, here's my favorite. I always see this one around Easter. Oh, there's a good one. Do you want to build a snowman? Okay. Somebody tried, right? I followed the cookbook. I love this one, the lamb. I see this one come up for every Easter. Oh, but at least they tried. But this is where we all start out. Okay. And this is where you develop those habits. So the last point I want to bring up is, so again, understand the beauty of the free enterprise system. All of us is built to be free. We have this imago Dei, this freedom, this creative spark, this energy in us that does not do good smushed and under subjugation to somebody else, okay? So first of all, understanding the free enterprise system and helping people that did not grow up understanding the mechanics and the beauty and the reality of the righteous creation and use of wealth. The second thing is the science of getting rich and being successful in leadership is all about doing things a certain way. And how do you know that certain way? Well, you read the books, read the success book. Okay. And so we really want to hint on that for leaders too. And why I love your organization, I see you guys are always in books. You're always figuring out ways to do it. You cannot be a leader if you're not a reader. That's the fact of life. That's also a universal truth. And lastly, I want to share, my dad always said, You'll be the same person 5 years from now, except for two things: the people you meet and the books you read. So we talked about the books you read. I want to talk about the people you meet. And you've probably heard this, but the older I get, the more I absolutely know this is 100% leadership gold. Your network is contingent on your net worth, okay? So your net worth is going to be a conglomeration of your network. And you've heard Jim Rohn say it, that you are a compilation of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So as you are growing your leadership team, you make sure that you connect with high idea, high network value people so you can improve your net worth. Because, you know, I heard somebody say it the other day, I don't have to know everything, but you have to know everybody. And that is networking. And that's the beauty of what you guys do. And that's why we're all on this call today. Second of all, when you're talking about your network, finding the right mentors, that is going to change your life. That is going to blow your business up, okay? Because when you find somebody whose taillights you can follow through the fog, that is when you are really going to dial in and be able to go and follow the path that somebody is carving out for you. So make sure that the people you are hanging out with, that you are spending the most amount of time with, are people that are further along than you and are going to be able to pour into you. And then you want to do them proud. If you have somebody that is mentoring you, you want to show up for them in a way like you have never shown up. I get some people that are interested in joining a team and they're hot and then they get cold or they just drift off. And if you are serious about being mentored, you need to go all in. Don't waste your mentor's time. Okay? Because the more you align with them and the more you are a little sponge that absorbs everything that they have, the more and the faster you are going to grow into your leadership position. The other thing about mentors, and I interviewed a lady on a podcast last week, she used this analogy. Think of yourself as a bottle of fine wine, okay? And the older we get, the finer we get, all right? But we are that bottle of wine. Here's the label of our best version of us. I can only read the label from the inside out. Your mentors will look at you from the outside in, and they will see that label, and they will be able to look at you and say, you know what, John? You know what, Dean? You know what, Diana? I see this in you. Because we can't see it. We can't, a lot of times, get of our own subconscious, our own stinking thinking, our own failures, fears, whatever it is, something that was told to us early in life that we hold on to, these weird childhood things that pop up at the strangest times. But when you connect with the right mentor, they are going to see it already in you, and they're going to recognize it, and they're going to call it out. And just like a beautiful wine that gets better with age, they are going to pour into you and make you sweeter and more robust and more full-bodied and of a higher value. All right. So just when we talk about leadership now and in the future, there's certain constants that are always be the same. The people you meet and the books you read. You cannot get it right without the right people. And your net worth is irrevocably tied to your network. Want a higher net worth? You need to up your network. Second of all, read the rule books on how to be successful. These guys on these calls, they all have the expertise and the experience. Don't go out and try and reinvent the wheel. There is a system that works. That's why there are people way at the top of this company that are incredibly successful in all walks of their lives, not just from a monetary standpoint. Those are the two constants. And the last one is we need to reignite people's love of the free enterprise system, because folks, that's the only thing that allows people to serve freely, to be given an opportunity for what they've poured into, and it's the only thing, quite frankly, that's going to save this planet from destruction. It's the only thing that ever has. It's the only thing that ever will. All right. So with that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to just share some leadership truths with you. I hope you got some value in it. And I hope you have a tremendous rest of the couple hours today sharing and thinking and learning with one another.
Well, Tracey, first of all, thank you so much. We have a little special here. We had one book promo yesterday with some of the books Tracey just mentioned. We have another one today. So Keith is going to go ahead and post that in the chat room as well, or maybe Dean could do that. One of you guys, you can do that. So you can get these books. Tracey's new book, Spark, is one of the best, if not the best, book on leadership I've ever read, and I've read them all. Okay, I've read them all. I think I've read them all. I've read all the leading ones. Okay, you're going to love it. Okay, and of course, book that Keith and I wrote, the book that Foster and I wrote, which are more specific to network marketing. So that'll be there. Tracey, before you go, and I know you're operating on fumes. Okay, you look great. You look a lot better than me. I was up watching wrestling at 4:00 in the morning, but you look a lot better than I do for being up all night.
Well, you guys bring it out in me. I'll tell you. I mean, it was sad, but I thought, I prayed to God and I said, Lord, give me the words, give me strength, and make my eyes not so puffy. And just you guys, just being here is ointment to my soul. So thank you guys.
Well, thank you. But before you go, just two real quick things. Okay. For many years, I read Investors Business Daily every day. I don't anymore. I just don't invest as much as I used to. So I don't read it every day. But I remember, I think it was Bill O'Neill was the founder, or maybe he was the publisher, but he always said, I was thinking about this, what you were talking about, how you think is everything. And that's what you just said. How you think. Look, you either see the world as an opportunity, or you see it as, oh, everything's terrible, everything's falling apart, I can't do anything, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
How do you see it? Now, if you're on this call today, okay, and you listen to these calls on a regular basis, and you listen to Leave Nothing to Chance podcast, and you're doing all the other things that you're doing, you're not thinking that way. So you're not it. We got to get to those other people, right, Tracey? But the other point is this, and you know this with your military experience and all the traveling you did all over the world, and I wasn't in the military, but I've traveled to some places in the world where people would love to be in the United States or Canada or the UK or any of the countries, frankly, that are represented on this call today, comparative, because we have the free enterprise system in those countries. And, people, we see people who will crawl through rivers with snakes and bugs and all sorts of things that can kill them. We saw people who left Cuba many years ago that took boats with bullets flying overhead. One of our distributors who's on here today, his wife shared with us her family story that they did that to get to places where if we're born here in North America or the United Kingdom for that matter, we just take it for granted. Hey, we have free enterprise. Sure, I can go out and be Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or whoever, you know what I mean, Mary Kay or whoever it happens to be. And we just take it for granted. And right on. It's like, look, guys, free enterprise system has freed more people, okay, in this lifetime, in this experience, all right, than anything else. So, Tracey, once again, thanks so much. I'll give you the last comment here, and we'll move on and let you get some rest.
Well, I just love it. And again, I was in the military, and the whole thing was freedom isn't free. And that's true. It took a soldier's blood to defend, and any of you that have defended your country's way of life. The free enterprise isn't either, and it is under assault right now. We need to reclaim it, okay, and let people know, hey, this is the only thing that's going to enable us to move forward. So thank you for bringing that up again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Tracey. Thank you so much for being with us, and get some rest, and we'll be thinking about Roscoe too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Leave Nothing to Chance. If you want to know more about what it takes to succeed in the network marketing space, join us again next week for another amazing episode. For additional resources and to connect with John Solleder, visit leavingnothingtochance.com. Don't forget to leave a review, and we'll see you next time.